Hello everyone, today I'm back in World of Guns, Gun Disassembly, and today we have yet another incredibly iconic firearm here that I'm gonna try to field strip and also maybe disassemble and show you the operation of it. Of course, as you can see, we have the Thompson submachine gun, also called the Tommy gun, I guess. A very famous gun, pretty much used extensively from the Prohibition era, basically end of World War One until, well, I should say after World War One, so that I don't confuse you. It was definitely developed after the First World War. But then it was used extensively in the Second World War by the American troops. So let's just jump right ahead into the field strip, and I'll tell you some more stuff about this. Alright, so as I said, this is a submachine gun, and it was probably developed by a guy named Thompson. Now, I will admit I am not very familiar with the history of the development of this gun. However, I do know a bit about when it was used and how. So, as I was saying before, it was used during the Prohibition era, and it really became really famous in that era because it was used by the famous mobsters of the time, and also like liquor traffickers and people on the wrong side of the law. But at the same time, law officers used these guns as well, and they had incredible shootouts with the criminals. So that's where it got its reputation. I should really just backtrack a bit and tell you what this gun really is. So as I said, it's a submachine gun, open bolt one. It's got either a drum mag or a stick mag, and this interesting sort of rail system for it that I'll show you later. It is chambered in 45 ACP. I'm not sure if they had any other chamberings. But this was probably the most popular like automatic pistol cartridge at the time in America. That's probably why they used it. And of course they had smaller automatic cartridges that were very popular as well, but this one was obviously very lethal. So we have this very iconic sort of dual pistol grip configuration, as you can see, and a very sort of slanted drop down stock, which gives it a very iconic look. This one has a semi sort of air cooled barrel, I guess. It's got these sort of ribs on the barrel. That's just for cooling. They would drop those in World War II, obviously. So I should also tell you that this gun was just a commercial sort of thing in the beginning. So just a guy developed it on his own, and he just, I don't know if he produced them or not, if he had his own company or not, but they were just out on the commercial market. Obviously, that was also before the machine gun ban, I guess. The restriction on the machine guns in America. I'm not really very knowledgeable about the laws in America concerning guns in that era. So I'm not really gonna talk about that, but so basically they were just commercial guns. I believe pretty much everyone could buy them, and then when World War II came about, actually before that, America had adopted, so the United States Army had adopted these guns as their primary submachine guns. Now I'm not sure when that happened exactly, which year. I would believe it was prior to the start of the war. But then they quite quickly found out that this gun was incredibly sort of expensive to produce and field. So they came up with sort of two different strategies to fight that. The first one was that they sort of tried to make it as cheap to produce as possible. So they got rid of like stuff on the barrel, like this here, the cooling stuff. They got rid of that. They put on a simple sort of foregrip, just like a square one. They did away with the comp at the end. They put on more simple sights, because this is quite a luxurious gun, if you will. It's got all the bells and whistles, especially for the time. As I said, the comp and the nice sight that helps you shoot it better. However, if you, from a sort of a military standpoint, you want pretty much the cheapest gun that you can get, so you can get as many out there as possible. As I said before, they also use stick mags with those. I guess they were cheaper to produce, easier to carry, so that kind of thing. Yeah, so they sort of managed to make it a bit cheaper, but not really that much in the end. So they just switched to a different platform, and they introduced the grease gun. But that's probably a story for another time. Let's go ahead and field strip this thing. So first of all, I'm gonna take out the drum. Okay, and then we take off the butt. Interesting. And stuff comes off the lower, I guess. The spring comes out, and the bolt. Okay, and then there's some extra stuff. That's the bolt handle, I guess, and that's it. That's pretty simple. Okay, so as you can see, it's got this interesting receiver, which is a very complex thing to machine. As you can see, it's got multiple sort of surfaces in there, and then this front section is completely different. It doesn't just continue because the bolt is this weird shape. So the front of basically just the bolt head is like this round shape, and the back is like, or the bolt carrier is like this completely different shape, and it really makes this gun quite expensive to make. It also uses some bronze parts, I believe. I think this up here is one of them. We'll get into those as when we if we take this thing completely down. So let's put it back together first of all. We got the charging handle that goes in the bottom, and then we've got this thing, lock bolt it's called. Okay, and then bolt goes in. Okay, and then the spring, and then the whole thing goes on top of the lower. There we go, and the butt goes on. Perfect. And then the mag, or the drum. Alright, there is one reassembled Thompson submachine gun. Okay, so let's go into operation, shall we? First of all, I want to see how this thing works. Okay, so we've got some rounds in the drum. As I said, as you can see, it is open bolt, so it just fires like this. And we can also go full auto. Perfect. It's quite nice that it has a semi-auto function as well. Alright, this is pretty cool. Change out the drum. Okay. We can put on the smaller mag, the stick mag. There it is, 20 rounds. There we go. it doesn't have a terribly quick fire rate of fire, which is kind of nice actually. Okay, what else do we have to do? A rear sight. Okay, let's see. So you can fold down the rear sight, and it's got just this sort of battle sight, and you see through the you look through the charging handle there, as you can see. That's pretty cool. What else can we do? We can change the rear sight apparently. Okay. Oh, the whole thing comes off. Interesting. Okay, so this is a different sort of type of ladder. I'm not sure why it's so low res, but whatever. Okay. Oh, right. Is this the same as the other one? No, it is actually different. It does have a different type though. Okay, let's see what this type is like. Okay, so this is pretty much the GI version. This is what they had, or sort of something like this is what they had on the army versions, and it was just like a simple L sort of sight with some protectors on the side. You really don't need much more on a submachine gun than that. That is pretty much plenty. You're not going to be using this thing past like 100 meters is the max that you ever really realistically want to use it. So I mean, it is a very nice gun, like a quality product, so I guess you could use it. The fact of the matter is that of course it is open bolt, so that would hinder your accuracy quite substantially at a greater distance. Okay, so we can remove the stock as well. Nice. And as you can see, we can also change the front grip. This is probably the GI one. Yeah, this is what I was talking about before. So it's just like this square, simple thing. It looks kind of goofy with that grip and no buttstock. Let's put the stock back on. This is more like it. This is pretty much the GI version. Although I don't think they had the comps on there. But this is pretty much how it looked. Okay, and then safety, wherever that is. Oh yeah, so we've got fire safe. Perfect. Nice. Okay, and we can change it to single for single shot. Okay. You can see the magazine is very weirdly seated, so it doesn't really the magazine well does not fully encompass the magazine at all. It's just like a open space around the top of the mag, and the only thing that holds the mag is this back sort of rib on it, that is held by this catch in the trigger guard. That's pretty interesting, isn't it? How it's just like hanging out there in the open. A very interesting design. Okay. Yeah, I guess it must be said it was a very early design as well, so you can't really blame it for that. Let's do some X-rays, shall we? Okay, so here you can see the mag. Yeah, it is a double stag. I believe it is double feed as well, which is nice. Pretty cool. Let's just fire some. As you can see, very simple sort of open bolt submachine gun. Nothing really special about that. Let's see, can I see what the hammer type is? Is it just a hammer? So no, it's got a sear at the bottom. Oh, of course it doesn't have a hammer, it's an open bolt. I'm so dumb. It's got a oh, it doesn't actually have a fixed firing pin. But let's see, let's go slow and see how it actually fires. How does the firing pin work? We're gonna have to go slower than that. Okay, so the sear drops and then it goes into battery and then okay, right, so it looks like it is actually a locked sort of breech. That would explain why it has some bronze parts in it, because they like lock and unlock this locking wedge. And that would get some wear on it, and you don't want to put that on the steel, so you just put a bronze part in it, which you can change periodically. Pretty cool. So it is sort of locked breech, and also the firing pin is actually spring-loaded, and it's got sort of a hammer. This sort of white piece right behind the firing pin hits on the front here and pushes it forward somehow, which is pretty interesting. Okay, right. Let's do some other x-rays. Okay, so here you can see the bolt, and it's got this locking thing. Let's do the fire again. Maybe we'll see how it locks. So it goes down pretty much. Not sure how it is guided, but that's pretty cool actually. We can see, oh, right, it's got some stuff on the side. Okay, that would probably explain the guiding procedure, but maybe not. Okay, it just drops somehow. Not sure how that works. Okay, what else can we have? I think we can have a... Can we have a cutaway? We cannot have a cutaway. Well, that's a shame. Anyway, let's try and take this thing apart, shall we? I think we've seen pretty much all of the functioning of this gun. Let's go into disassembly now and take it apart. It has 74 parts, so it's gonna be pretty complex. So I may not put it back together, but we're definitely gonna take it apart. Okay, so the stock comes off. We've seen that before. And then this comes off the lower. We've got the front grip, which comes off. We've seen that. And then we've got the barrel that just threads off. It's got this interesting sort of thing that holds it in place. Okay, we've got a front side blade that comes off. Right. What else do we have? We've got the sight. We've seen how that comes apart, and we can disassemble this further and further and also further. Alright, and then this comes out, the spring. Okay, and then we've got the bolt, and then we've got this locking thing, and there's another locking thing actuator. Okay, so this is pretty much what moves the locking thing, I believe. And of course the bolt handle. And then on the bolt we've got some stuff as well. So this is a little piece which is actually called the hammer. A little bit of an odd design, but it is technically a hammer. Alright, and we can also take off the comp. Alright. Right, so in the receiver we've got this thing, which is just a latch, and then we've got the breech oiler. Wow, okay, that is old school, very nice. Okay, it's interesting. How is it oiling the breech though? The breech is up front. The breech is like this part on the bolt, the front part, or actually the breech is this whole thing here where it locks, I guess. Okay, that's interesting. So basically it's got this sort of felt pads on either side that are just filled with oil, or just dipped in oil, I guess. And they keep the oil in them, and they just oil the inside over time, I guess. That's a very old school design. Some sort of similar things were used with early self-loading rifles I've seen, where they had to actually oil the cartridges because they were like they weren't really locked, or locked breech, I mean, or they were they didn't have a high enough delay on the locking system, and because while firing the cartridge case is under great pressure, you might imagine, it doesn't actually want to come out of the chamber if you try to extract it too early, I guess. So it would basically, the extractor would just rip the extractor rim off of the cartridge, of the cartridge case, and that obviously wouldn't be a good thing, because you would have a part of a cartridge case stuck in the chamber, and you obviously don't want that. So the way they try to solve that would be to lubricate the actual ammo, and they had this sort of the same system, well, similar system, but for a different purpose, with this sort of felt pads and some oil, and as you would put the cartridges in from the top, they would get lubricated, or just during the cycling, and you would be able to, they would be able to get extracted more easily. The way to solve that problem would also be to have a fluted chamber. That way you have a smaller area contacting the cartridge case, which means that obviously the resistance is also smaller. Alright, so we've at the buttstock now taken it apart, and we've got the drum to take apart as well. I must imagine this thing is pretty complex. We've got the cover, and there's a spring in there, but apparently we don't take that out. And there's this follower, which is like a weird star shape. Okay, and then we've got rotor shaft. Okay. Okay, so it's got a keep on the opposite side, and then the rotor shaft comes out. Okay, is there anything else in this drum? Not by the looks, no. There is two more parts somewhere, but obviously, yeah, that's that. Oh, hello. Nice. Okay, I did find the two more parts. Perfect. It's pretty complex. Let's put it back together. It's pretty complex. Although, if you lay it out like it is here, you sort of get the general idea of what the stuff are generally for. So it's not terrible actually. Obviously, it is an early design, and it wasn't optimized yet. At that point, the submachine gun wasn't. So it's very reasonable, I'm gonna put it that way. Now, if I look at it from a military standpoint, obviously, as I said before, this gun would be incredibly expensive to build for just an open bolt submachine gun, when you want to issue those things en masse to pretty much the large majority of the soldiers. Well, I guess in the American case, they didn't wanna issue them to the large majority of the soldiers, but they would give them, I guess, to rear combat troops, like drivers and stuff like that, where firepower per se or reach wasn't really that important. It was just more the convenience. Although I should point out, this gun is, or was, very, very heavy as well for its role. I believe it was pretty much the same weight, or maybe even more than the M1 Garand, or Garand, I should say. I should really use the proper term for that. Which sort of defeated the purpose, at least in my mind. But I don't know. I guess they use them for other stuff as well. So generally the troops really liked them, so that was also a big plus. and of course they were full auto, which was very fun, and they didn't kick very much because obviously they were only in a pistol cartridge, the 45 ACP, although that is a very potent cartridge. From a gun this weight, that has this sort of weight, it didn't really kick a whole lot. So yeah, I must imagine it was pretty fun to shoot full auto, and also it wasn't incredibly uncontrollable, which is always a plus. And the rate of fire wasn't too terrible either. So overall, I think that was a pretty nice gun to fire. And I'm sure guys back in World War II would try their best to get their hands on one. Although, of course, if you look at it from a perspective of soldiers fighting on with some other armies where they didn't have even semi-auto rifles, they had like bolt actions and stuff, it would be just a godsend to get at least an M1 Garand or a Garand, because that thing was seriously capable, and it would probably be able to save your life during wartime much better than a bolt action rifle. Okay, so let's put the barrel back on. Pretty much done with the assembly here almost. We've got the front side as well that can go on, and the barrel threads in. We've got this ejector just on the side there. Interesting. I guess it's easy to change it when and if it breaks. So that's pretty nice. Okay, so the bolt goes in, and then the spring. Okay, we've got the foregrip goes on, and then this whole assembly goes onto the lower. And I didn't comment on this, but the lower is just literally one sear that goes up and down. I guess it has semi-auto capability as well, so it's got a disconnector as well. But that's pretty much all there is to it. Very quite simple. Alright, and we have one reassembled Thompson submachine gun. Okay. Right. So, I think this is probably good enough for today's video. As I said, one if not the most iconic submachine gun ever produced, along with the MP40 series, and maybe, I don't know, the Sten would qualify as well in that category. So anyway, a very cool gun to take apart. Very early sort of firearm of this type, and very interesting historically, and I love that. I love it for these facts. So unfortunately today, obviously the original ones are full auto, so you pretty much, depending on where you live, you can't really get them. In America, when you can get them, where you can get them, but with restrictions or more difficult, with more difficulty. They are incredibly expensive, and the reproductions, semi-auto, they don't really have the same charm. So I think I'm not gonna be in the market for one of these for some time, but you never know. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, you can press the like button and subscribe to my channel. You can also check out my other videos, and I will see you next time.